Good morning, wild ones. It is Becca and Jen here with episode 15, Myths of Modern Love. We're going to talk about how modern love comes with a whole lot of noise. TikToks, hot takes, relationship goals, and half-truths dressed up as wisdom. Today, we're gently pulling apart a few of the biggest myths we've been handed out about love and connection. Not to shame where we've been, but to give us better tools for where we're going. Because healthy love isn't about intensity. It's not about perfection, but it's about safety, repair, fun, and staying rooted in who we are and who we belong to. So, undressing some of the things that need to be taken apart, and then also redressing it in a more accurate view. Before we get into our hot takes on modern love, let's go into a little this or that. Instead of unpopular opinions this week, it's this or that. Modern love edition. So, Jen, age gap. Would you prefer a small age gap, or are you down with a big age gap?
I am down with a big age gap, but I prefer a smaller age gap.
Okay. When I was in Guatemala, I dated a guy 13 years older than me. Didn't know it at the time until we started talking about music that we liked and some of the things that we talked about. And he said, "Oh, back in the 90s when I was in high school." And I'm like, "Yeah, me too." And I wasn't. I was young.
Wasn't born yet.
Yeah, I was born. You were not, maybe, but no. But it was
I
back
was
in the
born.
day. I'm just kidding. But it was one of those things where it was, hey, we do have enough differences where we're going to have to work through them, all high level, but nonetheless, small age gap has worked for me. I'm 6 months gap with my hubby and stuff, but I tried the big age gap and it worked until we started talking about some interests. All right. Who pays for the first date, in your opinion? The person who asked, or you split the bill?
I'm going to take the third answer, which is to say the guy.
Come on. Yes.
However, I'm sure that there are people listening who are not in traditional heterosexual, or what is the PC way to say this?
Yeah, you said right. Heterosexual. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, there are some people who are not in heterosexual straight relationships. So in that case, if you don't find yourself in that kind of relationship, I would say then the person who asked or initiated the date.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not about splitting the bill. I'll call it what it is. Either the person who I'm fully with you, the person who asked, or the person who's pursuing. And yes, we both have to pursue back and forth. We can get into all that. But if I'm shooting my shot and I'm saying, hey, I want to get to know you, that's on me to pay. But if someone else is like, hey, I'd love to, okay, come on, back in the day.
Yeah.
So, all right, traditional, love it. Okay, how you meet, apps and online or real life? Work, coffee shop, meet cute. What's your preference?
I'm a IRL, in real life kind of person. And you said this earlier in a conversation we had right before we logged on, but the only way to meet people is to meet people. And I think that the power of that in person is so much more potent.
Yeah. I met my hubby back in college, and we're so old that there wasn't even online dating at the time or apps. And so what I'll say in that is I met in real life. I think I'm grateful for apps, and I think the downside of apps for friends, I've had friends I've gotten married because of apps, so no knock on that. And then I've also had friends I've gone in downward spirals because of the apps. And so I'm ultimately the apps have to lead to in real life very quickly, otherwise out in my opinion. All right, first date vibe. Coffee and a walk, casual, or dinner and activity?
Dinner and activity.
Oh, take this girl out on the town. Okay. I'm I'm okay with the chill one for the first date. Coffee and a walk. Yeah. Okay. Texting style. Text all day or check in once and save it for in person.
Can I say both? Both.
Yeah. Cool.
Text all day, yes, but leave sort of the dense things for in person.
All right. Relationship pace. Take it slow or dive in and see what happens.
I'm going to say dive in and see what happens because I parallel this to I don't love small talk. I'm just sort of let's get into it, let's get to the real stuff. And I think that that parallels to my approach in relationships too.
Cool. I'm dive in. If I'm gonna go for it, let's go. I had a rule. If someone would ask me out, I'd go on a first date always. You ask me out, you have the guts to ask me out, I'll go on a first date with you.
Love that. I love that.
Look, let me tell okay, we're gonna get into this, and I'm happily married, he knows these stories. We'll call it what it is. Nick knows these stories, so I'm not throwing shade at him in any way. We had a gap because of me and my ignorance in our dating. He pursued me, and then I said, "Hey, I need to do some healing." Left for Guatemala, came back, and in that coming back, I went on dates while I was in Guatemala, and I went on dates when I got back. Look, I dated some of the coolest people. They didn't jive for the long haul. And I
Yeah.
dated some of the weirdest people, went on a first date with some of the weirdest people. And I probably brought into the space where people are like, not for me as well. Right. And that's awkward or there's things like that. But I thought if you're gutsy enough to ask me out, Yes, sure. I would love to get to know you. It's a coffee date. It's a whatever. Let's go. So that was my thought for the first date. But then second, because I'm like dive all in, I knew, hey, this isn't enough for the next. Or I'd say, yep, let's jump in and we do two, three, four. But I'm not trying to mince words. And so I would say, hey, thank you so much. It was great to know you. I know this is awkward. I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt you, or I don't know where you're at, but I don't want to pursue this any farther. And I just did. I just owned it. And it was awkward. It was so awkward. And yet it worked. And so
But you know what I hear? I hear clarity to me, which is kindness. That's what I hear.
I have done a poor job prior to that, including Nick originally and previous relationships. I hurt people. That was one of the commitments, that I hurt people because I wasn't brave enough. And I didn't actually say what I felt or what I thought, and that's unkind. But to actually say what I feel and where I'm at, that's actually kinder. It might be awkward in the moment, it might be painful, but it's not
Yep.
hurtful and harming.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so thank you for bringing that out, because I would say that. It's the same as, like, if someone has something in their teeth, I'm gonna say it, right? It might be, again, an awkward situation, but if I was like, "Hey, Jen, you got a little something right there," awkward moment, but then you clear it and then we're good to go, or you're good to go and you move on. And then that's how I felt even in dating. Again, you shot your shot. Come on, let's hang, let's get to know, let's see
Yeah.
where it goes. And then, nope, okay, these are the reasons, and I wish you the best, and I hope the same.
Still respect you as a person, etc. Yeah.
Yeah. And here's what I'll say, from those dating relationships, I'm not friends with any of them by nature of it, but I also didn't like, none of them ended poorly. It just was either awkward or we went our separate ways, and that was okay. Well, this is what I'll say to the ladies listening too. Go get a good meal. Go out on the town. Go do. Go do. It is
Yeah.
so worth it. And if you're on the flip side, you're like, no one's asking me. Then maybe that is where it's worth saying, let's go on the apps. Let's see if there's like, but be very honest, even in the apps, of saying, hey, I like these texts. Let's go grab a beer, or let's go grab a drink, or you shoot the shot too. Like I asked Nick, I left the door wide open. We'll go into this and then we'll come into ours. First time I meet him, I was giving over a relationship, and the gal who I like was a mentor. She was like, see that guy over there? We were setting up for something. Of course I see him. Smoke show. Yes, I see him, and he's 6'7". Yes, I see him. However, I'm not going there, Kels. And I told her that. And she was like, okay. And sure enough, he made his way around. And so I saw him later in the afternoon when we were setting up, and he introduced himself. And I was like, hi, so nice to meet you. Da, 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 da. And then we went our separate ways. Then that night down in Denver, I'm with another group of friends, and I walk in and I hug one of the roommates, and she's like, hey, this guy here is interested in you. He's with his buddies. Sure enough, I see Nick and his entourage. He knew the other roommate. So now I'm like, okay, God, I've said no, but my ears are at least open. My eyes are open. I'm listening. I'm open to what's the universe. Like, where are we at?
Whoa.
I know. And so that happens. We have such a fun night. We're all joking. We're all having a great time. Then I go like, okay, you know what? I'm feeling bold. And I say, hey, it was so nice to meet you. If you ever want to get together, let me know. Thinking that he might be like, okay, here's my number. He goes, sounds good, and walks out the door. And I'm like, homegirl here just misread the whole night. Sure enough, 2 days later, he gets back at me and stuff through friends. But yeah, talk about rejection in the moment where I'm like, not how I thought it was going to go. Not how I thought it was going to go. So, anyways, shoot your shot. Who knows what will come? We'll get into more of Nick and my relationship as people get to know us and stuff, but shoot your shot. All right, last one then. Public versus private love. PDA all day, baby, or save it for behind the scenes, Jen. For those of you that can't see her, this is deep contemplation.
And so I feel like I'm going to go cop out, which is it depends on the context. I think I have no problem showing PDA in public, but the circumstances have to be right. The place where we are, it has to be okay. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. What about you? You answer it. That's hard for me.
My thought would be similar, but I'll put this caveat. I want to know, especially to the men listening and also to those that are in partnerships, if you're with someone, let the people around you know that you're with them. Maybe it's not a make out. Please don't make out. That to me is too far. I don't like, we're past teenage days. I don't need to see that, but go up and grab their shoulder, or put a nice peck on their forehead, or hold their hand, or say, hey, babe, like something that like says, hey, we are together. We are connected. I think I'm all about that. Show your love.
Yeah.
We need to see more of that. So that's where I'm at. Nick knows I love a good handhold. Hold my hand wherever we're at. I would love that. Come up when we're across the room. Come up and say what's up. Give me a quick squeeze. Shoot. Give a little spat, a little pat, whatever. Like just say what's up. And then go on your way. Give me a hand squeeze, whatever. But that would be my 2 cents. It doesn't need to be gross. It doesn't need to be slobbery, but like let people know you're together.
An indicator.
An indicator.
John does this really well when we go to the gym.
Okay.
And we're working out. We usually work out separate. And I think in his mind, he's like, all y'all can check out my girl, but I'm going to let all of you know that she's mine, and walk up to me or say something to me or, yeah, tap me on the shoulder, something that really externally is signaling we are together. She is mine kind of deal. And I always appreciate that.
Yeah, that's connection. That's human
Yeah.
connection to say because the reality is you do respect each other and you
Yeah.
are together and there is that connection. So it's saying, "Hey, what's up?" We talked about the myth of modern love. And so what are some myths? There's probably hundreds or thousands, but 3 that we've chosen today is myth 1. If it's real, it should be easy. I want us to reframe it into healthy love takes skills, might be repair, boundaries, communication, and fun. What are your thoughts on this myth? I'm calling it a myth. Maybe you agree with it, which then we'll have to unpack. But myth 1, if it's real, it should be easy.
I think the distinction I would make is you have your relationship and you have your connection and you have your love. And then on top of that, you have circumstances and decisions. And so I think in the sense that if our connection is easy and seamless and flowing, that's one thing and that's great. And I think that's an important starting point. And when you layer on top of something that's simple and easy, really complicated circumstances, whether that's logistical circumstances, grief, health issues. It's almost, is it our love that's no longer easy, or is it the container in which our love operates or is circumstantially right now that is not feeling easy, which puts pressure on our love and our connection. So I think so much of it is driven by circumstances around you and sort of where you find yourself. In the times when my love with my husband has been so easy, it's often when things are going really well. And when things are not going well in life, that naturally is going to put pressure on us. And I think we've tried to not take that so personally to our connection. It's just sort of just a reality check of hey, you lost somebody, you're in a really thick season of grief, or you are in the middle of an unknown health diagnosis where you don't know the outcome and you're feeling super, and that changes my participation level or your participation level in the love. And so I do think it's a myth because I think that it ignores really difficult circumstances. Circumstances are hard to navigate, especially in the context of being partners.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that those 2 aren't equated. Easy and real are not equated. I do get, "Hey, I don't wanna work hard," or, "I wanna connect on a friendship level or a deep level." I think maybe that's the piece of this myth where people state it needs to be easy because I wanted to have fun, and I get it. Please, all relationships need to have fun. Absolutely. However, having fun and ease does not mean it is equated to realness or authenticity or something that's going to work. There, to your point, life ebbs and flows. Life is chaotic at certain times, many times. And so, saying, how do we have skills to move through those different seasons? And so, saying, okay, maybe our love together is strong, but I don't know if I'd use easy there. And so, what are the boundaries? What are the communications? What are those skills that we can build out to your point? So, when grief does hit or transition between jobs hits or a birth or whatever it may be, how then can we look at each other and come back to this place of connectedness, come back to the place of joy and laughter, come back to the place of fun? And so I would agree that if it's real, it should be easy. I think a better way to say it is real because I'm choosing love this person. I'm choosing to have fun with this person. I'm choosing to build out a life with this person. And therefore it is fun. I do think it gets easier in the sense of how I read Nick or how he reads me with time because we continue to do those skills. I don't think that it's easy. By no means do I think it's easy, but it gets easier to understand each other when we continue to build out the skills.
And as you're talking, what's coming to mind for me is this word intuitive. I think that love, that connection, those reactions, those patterns in your relationship, you have to work or practice. Work feels laborious and sort of negative. That's not really what I mean. I mean that you have to get the reps in for something to feel intuitive later or to feel easy and seamless, even if it's being pressured by hard circumstances. Yeah. And so even in some difficult circumstances, can it feel intuitive? I think 1,000% yes. Or
Yes.
natural. Maybe easy isn't the right word.
Right. And that's I'm with you in that. And maybe it's even pushing further of love is not always a feeling either. It's an action, or relationships aren't
Yeah.
just feelings. And so there are moments where Nick, I'm sure I drive him insane. And he's like, I do not feel like I want to hang out with this woman right now. However, I'm committed to her and I do love her. And so I'm going to give her some space, or I'm going to go do something that I want to do, or let's see if I can reconnect with her and find, that common ground. Or when I've had deep grief, as we talked about
Mhm.
that in the beginning, him holding space for me, even when it's heavy, has been so beautiful, or vice versa. And it's forged in the fires. It has forged then a fun and an ease for other moments where we just get a laugh, or we're like, "Remember when we made it through that? Like, remember how big of a deal?" Or I remember when we first got married, I may have shared this before, but when we first got married, he had his night routine. He's one step after another, like, so organized, all this stuff, and I'm whimsical, and I'm, "All right, pillow talk, stoked to have it, brush our teeth, cute." He says goodnight, like, we go through our nighttime routine, and then he flips over and goes straight to bed. Night 1, what happened? Night 2, okay. Night 3, I'm like, "Homeboy's mad at me at night. Like, what is wrong here?" So I bring it up, "Hey, nighttime doesn't feel easy to me. I feel something's off when we go to bed." And he's
Mm.
like, "What?" Like, totally oblivious. And I'm like, I'm so glad I brought this up, because he goes, "I'm going to bed." And I say, "Oh, I'm used to having pillow talk with my girlfriends. My nighttime routine looks different." And we had to have that conversation of, what does nighttime routine actually look like? And that's often what it takes to forge through even something mundane as going to bed and brushing our
Right.
teeth and all of that. And so I share that of, often I think the micro skill here would be to state the need and not the accusation when life does get hard. Instead of saying
Yeah.
everything has to be easy, it's saying, no, when life gets hard and I have a need, instead of me saying, "Nick, you never listen," or "Nick, you don't love me," or "Nick, you don't want to go to bed with me," which are all untrue statements.
Yeah.
However, I felt those, is saying, "I need to feel seen right now," or "I need to know that when I go to bed, we're on the same team, on the same team. We're at the same table. Like, where are we at?" And so I think that's the micro evolution there. Any other thoughts on myth one? Otherwise, we'll move into another myth.
No, I think, I would say starting out, I definitely think that your love and connection should feel easy. And I think the reality of life and the endurance of life is that will get pressure tested.
Yeah. And maybe easy turns into fun, or delighted, or joy filled. And that's the better term there, because I do think it's important to have all three of those: joy,
Yeah.
delight, and fun in marriages, in dating, in relationships in general. Otherwise, it is too hard. And that's saying, this might not be the right relationship for me. And we get into that. If you're already in a marriage, that's a whole nother conversation to work through. But if you're dating and you're trying it out, this person does not seem the right match, then be honest in that too. Let's go into, with you talking about feelings and then also our levels. You said that in the beginning of myth one. What about the next myth of love completes me, or you complete me? We've seen that in the screens. We've seen that on TV of he completes me, or oh, you complete me. What are your thoughts on that myth?
My thought is that we are independent, autonomous human beings in the singular, and we are made sort of stronger, or our impact or our abilities or our auras are sort of doubled or quadrupled when we get partnered. So I don't really think that love completes me. For me, that is a myth, because I think we are all complete individually, just as we are. And love, or being in a partnership of love or romantic partnership, doesn't inherently complete me, complete you. It makes us better, enriches our lives, all these things, yes. But I don't believe that it completes me per se. What do you think?
I agree, because when you said that, it almost, when we're in a relationship, it enhances it or illuminates it tenfold, or one, two, three quadruples it. I think that's it in its essence, is when I'm in a relationship, all those things about me either are illuminated if I'm in a healthy one, or they're shrunk down, right? If it's an unhealthy situation, or pressed down or whatnot. And so but either way, it's still me in my completeness being either enhanced or suppressed. And so thinking through that, then more of an idea of, I'm already whole. I am who I am. And some days my battery level may be at a 30% when I've walked through hard things, or different energies when I wake up or whatnot, or even throughout the day. Nick knows at certain times that I have more energy than other times, and vice versa. We talked about him going to bed. I know at the end of the night, that is not the time for me to have hard conversations. We need to either schedule them, or if it comes up, again, he's flexible and he'll make it work. But if we can plan for it, we have them before 8 p.m. because it makes sense for his energy level. But that doesn't mean that I complete him because I have energy at the end of the night. No, it's saying, oh, he's whole in his own. I'm
Yeah.
whole in my own. And now how do we interact in a way that meets us where we're both at? And when one of us does feel depleted, how can we either match that and help the other person to move through that hardship?
Mm.
Or if we're both at that place, how then do we see each other and try and work through the hardship? Or if we're on opposite schedules, right, which happens too, then saying, okay, I'm really energetic. I'm super excited to go do this or whatever. And Nick's like, wah, 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 not on purpose, but that's where his energy is. How then do I not feel deflated because my energy and my identity is not in him? But I say, oh, what's going on? Why is that affecting you? Or why is that your response? Or I've known him long enough. All right, just go work out and then I'll see you soon. And then we can have this
Yeah.
conversation later or the next day or whatever, and vice versa and stuff. So I think each complete on our own. Our energies look different and that will illuminate or suppress how we look or how we
Mhm.
interact. But overall, it's an identity check to say, nope, I'm me. I'm who I am. And these get pulled out. Do you have an example of you and John of what that looks like, of the fact that you guys don't complete each other, however you do engage in life in the ways that you do?
For us, something that we really try to hold true and live out is this core belief that we are better when we're together and life is richer when we do things together. And yet, there are things that John is interested in and John wants to do that I have no interest in, and vice versa. And we try to make those things sort of small and sparing, like not try to have a ton of those things, but where those exist, we try to give each other space and freedom in those. So, for example, I love salsa dancing. I grew up ballroom dancing with my grandma, and I love social salsa, bachata dancing. And John, over the years, has come and he's tried it and he's hated it. And I've also hated it. And so we're just like to a point now where we're like, you know what? This is one of the things that Jen likes and Jen can do. And Jen's going to do. And John doesn't have to be there. And it's been so freeing for me and for John because John's like, oh, thank God, I don't have to be like this world class social salsa dancer. Know that Jen's going to go. And, you know, we talk about like boundaries and parameters and things like that. But he's like, I'm so happy that you come back and are recharged and your cup is full and you don't have this heavy expectation of me that I need to be there and serve you in that way on that particular thing. So that's an example for us that is very real. We live that out almost weekly because I love it so much. So.
Well, and it's a beautiful example of that part of you doesn't shrink because it's a no for him, and you're not trying to fit into his world or vice versa.
Mhm.
And he allows it to be illuminated because he says, hey, this isn't for me. So you go do it and you do it well. And like you said, there's parameters and there's boundaries and all of that. And also, it's not like you're out every night doing it. Right. It's in moments and it's in seasons and things like that. And so there's then the other 6 nights a week or the other, you know, 500 hours that you do stuff with him every month and stuff, and so it looks different each from season to season. So I love that. Nick and I have some of those things for ourselves, whether it be interests or how we view the world, or some of the things are not the same, and it's a healthy thing. But like you said, the richness, that's what's coming out. It enriches our lives, that we can see things from different perspectives, that we can have
Mhm.
conversations on it, that we can also do our own activities and come back to it. Nick loves what he does for work. I love what I do for work. It is not the same sector. Yet we're not less than because either of us are living our best lives in our own, professions too. And so that happens across, or that spans different genres of our life too. So
Mhm.
excellent. Then final one. And this one I really want to bring in, especially on Mondays for her huddles. Miss 3. My friends will come back around. They just know I'm falling in love. What are your thoughts? Or I can jump in either way.
I think my thought is I'm curious if we agree or disagree on this one.
Mm.
I kind of agree with it in the sense that falling in love or having a crush is such an intoxicating feeling. And in that process, do we also often neglect our friendships or our more routine day to day interactions? Probably. And I think it's okay. I think it takes some self confidence as a recipient or like a friend to know, hey, look, Becca's just in the thick of this fall in love phase, and I'm gonna give her space to do that because I'm so happy for her, and I know that like she will still be there, I will still be here, and we'll reconnect like in time. But yeah, that's my thought. What do you think?
No, I mean, I like that we disagree. I think I think they're shared probably in the sense that naturally we're going to spend more time when we meet someone, especially someone that we're really interested in. So whether friendship or a like or all the way to romantic love, we are going to spend more time with that person. So the evolution of a friendship does change. So that to me I agree on. I think it's so important to keep the girlfriends though around. I think that girlfriends are lifelines. And so in the sense that go on those dates with the dudes or the other partner and figure it out and be on those dates and have fun and then call your girlfriend and say guess what da, 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 da.
Yeah,
And then as the recipient to your point though, can we recognize that our friends that's the connection in this season, they're inviting us in a season where they're in love or falling that way or moving that way with someone else, even in that where it's less time with me, can I be happy for them, right? And this gets back into friendship. True friendship is saying, tell me about it. Yeah, tell me, did you like him? Did he kiss you? Right? Like be fun, be a friend, champion them. However, keeping that lifeline because then through the hardship or through those other parts that we were talking about of different seasons of chaos and grief and life happening, we still need girlfriends, especially because majority of men do their own thing or have their alone time or have their downtime. And we as women overall are more social or texting or whatever. It doesn't have to be that we're side by side, but call a friend up, call a girlfriend and
yeah,
say, hey, here's something fun happening in my life. And then here's the second piece I would add, ask the person who's not dating someone something back. Because I think that's the piece that we start to miss is that it's like, my world is all this. And we do get caught up and
yes,
that's fun. But then we release and we miss interacting and actually caring for the other person because we're so in our head and our heart and we don't even realize it often. And so
yeah,
this is maybe as a third myth, I would say that this is like the above and beyond. Go above and beyond. Hopefully you have friends that will stay around. Right. I know in my moments of falling in love with Nick, my girlfriends were like, we know, we see it, right? We know. Equally though, I had friends that were like, "Hey, can we double date? Can we get to know Nick? Bring him around." And that was something else, is that
yeah,
Nick started to get to know my girlfriends too. And then Nick was like, "I'm gonna go play ball." And I say, "I'm gonna go meet up with my girlfriends." And so starting to figure out that line of it doesn't have to be either or.
yeah,
It's how do we still maintain those friendships and also, yeah, dive all the way into that new relationship or in marriage, then we could get into that. So I'm 10 years into marriage. How do I still maintain girlfriends, even though Nick is my most favorite person in the world? I adore him. We have a ton of fun together. We work through the hard together. And also, he doesn't need to hear my 5,000 words. He needs to hear five. And he loves me just as well. If I wanna share something in depth in the most colorful way, yeah, Nick will sit and listen to me. However, my girlfriends will egg me on, and they'll go in a whole 'nother route, and it's just fun, and it's
yeah,
joy-filled, and there's some of those pieces too. So that's why I'd say hang on to girlfriends. Or here's the flip side, healthy love doesn't require us to abandon friendships either. And if you're interested in a person that's like, "Nope, your friends are out," boo. I'm sorry. If you say my girlfriends don't matter, you're out because that means that you are going to say other things are out in the long run, or my voice doesn't matter, or my passions don't matter, or other
yeah,
things. So sorry, it's a no.
yeah. I agree.
But oh, all right, three myths. So the first one was if it's real, it should be easy. Reframing that to saying it can be real, and in moments it's going to be easy, and moments it's going to be challenging, but finding that connection through it all, working towards it through skills. The second one is love completes me. And
Mm,
rather than saying that, saying, nope, we both are whole. We both have our own identities and we are who we are. And yet we can connect and love and learn and have different energies that either illuminate or suppress. So, how do we get to engage with that? The third one is my friends will come back around. And we're a little bit divided here of girls stay around, let your girl fall in love, let her go on her own journey. But
yeah.
also, when you're on that own journey, hey, reach out to your girlfriends, let them be a part of the story. What do you have for us as far as a journal prompt to end the week?
Yeah, journal prompt for this week is what's one romantic belief you grew up with that you've maybe over time realized doesn't match reality? How has letting go of that myth, or how would letting go of that myth change what you look for in relationships?
So many things. Oh, so good. Thank you all for listening. Jen, always great to be with you. Ladies, we'll see you next Monday for her huddles. Be well, y'all.